When you need them, they're there. Make an appointment with the Orthopedic Center.
Tom Abraham, only on 97.7 The Zone. Here's a list of what we have. The Crimson Tide Sports Network, the Atlanta Braves Radio Network, Madison Academy Football, UAH Basketball, the SEC Radio Network, the College Football National Championship Game, the SEC Football Championship Game, NBA Playoffs, MLB Playoffs, and that's just the starting lineup. 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
That fact is important for you to know.
Here's Bobby White from Woody Anderson Ford on their service department.
SEC Football Championship Game, NBA Playoffs.
Friendly for the environment. We've got our production system, the way things are in and out. We have the fastest cycle rate in town of getting your vehicle in, getting your vehicle out, and assured that it's fixed right. We take pictures before it's wrecked, and not only after, but we take it as we're putting the parts on. All done to above industry standards. So I'm proud of our body shop too. Don't forget our parts department. So you don't have to need parts, performance parts, or just parts if you're a weekend mechanic.
Woody Anderson Ford, located at the corner of Jordan and Sparkman, as well as Hughes Road and Madison. You can also check out the great deals at WoodyAndersonFord.com.
We love our pets, and when we need boarding or vet services, we want the best. That's why we chose Paradise Pet Resort and Spa. Everything our pets needed, all in one place. Boarding for both dogs and cats. Doggy daycare, grooming and spa services, web cameras, and top-notch vet care, too. It's a true Paradise Pet Resort for your furry friends, serving all of North Alabama. Find out everything you need to know and book services online at ParadisePetResortAndSpa.com. Located in Madison, just off 565 at Wall Triana, behind Cracker Barrel.
And will free you from IRS collection efforts once and for all. Due to the financial hardships consumers are facing throughout the country, the Internal Revenue Service has made it easier to settle delinquent tax problems. An open phone line has been established by Community Tax for consumers to call and see if they qualify. If you owe back taxes to the IRS and can't afford to pay them back, or you even have years of unfiled tax returns, there's no need to live in fear. But you have to call the Community Tax Helpline. Do not take on the IRS alone. They can attack your wages, savings, pension, home, and even go after your Social Security check.
Call Community Tax today. 800-651-0074. To end your tax troubles, call 800-651-0074. Get a free consultation. Call 800-651-0074. That's 800-651-0074.
WZZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama.
Alabama!
Your home of the Crimson Tide Sports Network.
Good morning from the traffic center. Had a couple of wrecks, Pulaski Pike and Patterson Lane and Parkway southbound at Governor's. Both those reported as no injury. We had a vehicle fire. Apparently it was an arson case. They've called an investigator, 53, and Martin Luther King. Snelling has urgent need for experienced LPNs, medical assistants, and medical receptionists. Snelling, 256-382-4000. Captain Nick in the Jordan Lane Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
From the WZDX Pinpoint Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. A mostly cloudy sky this afternoon. We'll get to enjoy a few peaks of sunshine, but that sunshine really isn't going to help us warm up at all. Highs only hanging out in the upper 60s and lower 70s, dropping into the upper 40s and lower 50s through the overnight. Looks like we get to enjoy far more sunshine for your Thursday afternoon, but again, it's not going to be all that warm across North Alabama, southern Middle Tennessee. Temperatures once again hanging out in the upper 60s and lower 70s, dropping into the upper 40s, lower 50s as we head into the overnight Friday. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio. 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
This is Brett Musburger's Action Update. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all of your car care needs. Stop by your local O'Reilly Auto Parts today. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better prices every day. Now, here are the latest lines from my guys in the desert.
Wells Fargo Championship underway tomorrow. Justin Thomas and John Rahm each had plus 1,100. Bryson DeChambeau plus 1,400. Rory McIlroy and Xander Schauffele plus 1,800. Michelle Watterson and Marina Rodriguez.
Hey, good morning, guys. Welcome in. How about a little pre-show conversation for you? We love it. Make sure you guys Join in by sending comments or questions on the comment line. Rod Daly already doing so before the show even starts, so we appreciate that. Happy Cinco de Mayo Day to you, Rod, as well. Yesterday we had May the 4th be with you. Today we get Cinco de Mayo, so it should be a good time. We got a lot to get through this morning. We got some good stuff. Name, image, and likeness is really starting to take over. A lot of athletes in the transfer portal. How many of them on the football side? We told you about the basketball side. We'll talk about that. We got a lot to get through for the next 2 hours. But once again, if you're joining us here on Facebook Live, Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube, send us your questions, especially on YouTube. If you're watching us on YouTube, you can actually send comments in there as well. And we monitor those. Let's join our radio audience, shall we?
True.
Okay, you're on, bro. Yeah, we are off and running. It is another brand new live edition of Talkin Ball right here on 97.7 ESPN The Zone with Scott Theisen and Drew DeArmond. It is our Wednesday show. We have made it through the halfway point of the week. We appreciate you for watching and listening to us. As always, we are on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. So we appreciate you for joining us there. And again, as always, if you want to be a part of the show there, send us in your questions and your comments there on the comment line, however you watch us. If you're watching us on Twitter, send us there on Twitter. If you're watching us on YouTube, Facebook Live, send us questions, comments, and we will answer those. We will get through those throughout the show. If you can't call in, that's the best way to do it. And if you can call in, 256-576-4977. That is the number to the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. And we welcome your phone calls on this Wednesday morning. By the way, happy Cinco de Mayo Day. Yesterday we had May the 4th be with you. Today we have Cinco de Mayo Day. So yesterday, you know, the old saying is it's Taco Tuesday. Today you can actually go and enjoy Cinco de Mayo and have a good time. Have a margarita or two or three or whatever, how many ever you feel like you want to enjoy today on Cinco de Mayo. We've got a lot to get through on the show this morning. Another state adds their name to the name, image, and likeness race. Who is a part of it now, and it looks like most of the SEC will be a part of this come July 1st. Alabama, though, just like other schools, Texas has already done it. Florida State has already done this. Now Alabama joins the race as well. The school of Alabama, not the state. The University of Alabama has taken the steps to help athletes when it comes to name, image, and likeness. And Errol Thompson, the Florence standout who was at Mississippi State, letting it be known on how and where athletes can go to already get your name in line as far as social media goes to be taking advantage of name, image, and likeness. Just how many athletes are actually in the football transfer portal? We did a great job of letting you know how many basketball athletes are in the basketball transfer portal, but how many football athletes have been in the transfer portal since last August? Since the beginning of last season, how many names went into the transfer portal on the football side? The Athletic has said, okay, we're going to take those athletes that entered the transfer portal since last August, and we're going to rank them 1 through 50. Now, there's a lot more than 50 athletes in the transfer portal, we'll tell you that. I mean, you can take that number and times it by a large amount. Let's just put it that way. Hard to rank all 50, but they do. Some of them have signed. Some of them have not signed. How much value does recruiting a top 5 class have when it comes to winning a national championship? We'll go over that because Ari Wasserman of The Athletic says, well, it's important, but wait till who he says is the best evaluator of talent in college football. Louisville head baseball coach Dan McDonnell, and I know we don't talk Louisville baseball. We don't pay attention to Louisville baseball. But he had an epic rant last night when it comes to fans in the stands for baseball games. And yes, we will play it because it's pretty good. And his feelings resonate with a lot of people around
Jeff or Spencer
around the area. The Atlanta Braves got it going last night against the Nationals. You know it. You know it had a big game. Yesterday we talked about Auburn losing guys into the transfer portal. After the show, you can add another name to it, so we'll go over that. But let's start with the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Spencer is with us this morning, and right out of the gates, Spencer's with us. Good morning, buddy.
Good morning, Scott. Happy Cinco de Mayo. We get to go celebrate this holiday in the American fashion of drinking booze until we can't remember what tomorrow is going to be like.
Now, do you get excited or partake in for Cinco de Mayo? Are you one of these guys that tonight you're going to be at a Mexican establishment and enjoying some tacos and margaritas?
No, tonight I'm going to have some friends and family over for our own little margarita and taco bowl shindig.
Okay.
But I do plan on waking up with a hangover in the morning by my screaming kids.
Oh, what's on your mind, Spencer?
Well, I want to talk college football playoff, man. I mean, they're proposing to expand the college football playoff, and I don't know, man. I mean, I feel like if we go to 8 teams, we're just devaluing the regular season, and I'm not a fan of that.
Right.
By any stretch of the imagination. If we go by 6, if we expand it by 6, and you give number 1 and number 2 a first-round bye, I may be on board with that because then, there's a little bit of incentive for getting that number 1 or number 2 spot. But if everybody feels like you got to go to 8, to give the group of 5 a chance. Well, that's not really going to give them a chance. Drew will be the first one to tell you that. But if you're going to go to 8, and I feel like that's where it's going to go, can they please bring back the BCS system and we get away from these morons in the college football playoff committee to get to decide 8 teams as opposed to 4? They can barely pick 4 teams to be in the top 4. I know they're not going to pick the right 8 teams. Can we please go back to the BCS?
Well, the thing is if you so we go back to the BCS system of picking 8. Then you're putting it in the hands of computers. Are you comfortable with having computers pick who gets into the playoffs rather than you say, the humans, but then you get guys like, the Colley Matrix poll, which is outlandish sometimes. Those would be the ones picking the teams.
I'd be much more comfortable with the computers picking the teams as opposed to the college football playoff committee. And reason being is, did you experience a bad BCS national championship game outside of the Alabama shellacking of LSU?
And really, Spencer, that wasn't a bad football game. It was just people that were pissed off because it was all SEC and they couldn't believe they were from the same division. And Tim Brando, because he was dressed in purple in the crowd, was anticipating calling them the greatest team of all time, and they couldn't pass midfield.
So, right, exactly. If that was the worst BCS national championship game, I'm pretty happy with the way the computers selected 1 and 2 all the way through.
Well, I mean, Spencer, think about this. In the so-called game of the century, and at the time it was, there were people, and it was an overtime football game that was decided by a field goal, that thought the Alabama-LSU game was not a good football game because they wouldn't know a football if it hit them between the face.
Because they're from California where they don't play.
Yeah, because it wasn't 45-42, like the USC-Texas game that was decided late in regulation. They just couldn't deal with it. They couldn't deal with the fact that it was defense. And it was the two, and it played out that it was the 2 best teams by far. But I see what you're saying. But here's why it's going to be 8, man. It's money. Money, and because the group of five wants to play a place at the table so they can go lose 55-3 in the quarterfinals.
But have they gotten the teams right?
I
and
think
Spencer
so.
brings it up. Have they gotten the teams right in the playoffs so far?
I think Spencer brings up a good point of the fact I thought the BCS was right.
Right.
And I think they've done a really good job with the Final Four. There could be some, consternation about Notre Dame last year, but they bottom line was they did beat Clemson. Okay. So again, I think they can. I think they've done a good job. Heck, man, last year you had a hand tied behind your back anyway because Joe told the Big Ten and the Pac-12 they shouldn't be playing, which was stupidity. And everybody started late instead of getting in line, following the SEC's lead. We're not following the SEC's lead. We're not doing that. We know more than you. Oh, we look like a bunch of dumbasses. So you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
They were stupid. Everybody should have started late. We all understand that, but they should have been starting in September.
All right, Drew, let's get off the COVID train for just a minute, man, okay?
It just tied into this year.
Man, okay? That's what I want to talk. I want to talk playoffs. If you take it to 8 teams, man, okay, you're devaluating the regular season, and you're asking these kids that are 18 to 21 years old to play 15, 16 football games, man.
Well, they already do it in the FCS, man. And think about this. Clemson's already played 15. We've already had a 15-0 champ, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
how many FCS champs hit like the freight trains, Christian Barmore and Marcel Darius? How many FCS schools have defenders that hit that hard?
But like Drew said, though, we've already had Clemson play 15 games and win the national championship.
And if it's 8, you're adding 1 week. I don't think that's horrible. I think, right. Do I think it's ever going to be 16, Spencer, or 10 or 12 or whatever other stupid thing? No. I think it'll be 8.
Well, if it goes 8, look for something to get subtracted. And I think the one thing that would get subtracted is, and as much as they don't want it because of the money, the conference championship games may go away if you go 8.
Or here's what I do. I think potentially you might even see, and it would lessen. It was what Spencer said about lessening the impact of the regular season. You might see a regular season game dropped and then go back to 11 games and not 12.
There you go.
And I'm fine with them losing the SEC championship game. I really am, because you know that you're at least going to get the 2 best SEC schools in the Elite 8, in the Final 8, or whatever they're going to call it.
Yeah.
You're at least going to get the 2 best SEC
You're probably going to
schools.
get 3 a lot, Spencer.
And they can be in the same division at that point.
See, this is what America's going to have to deal with. You're probably going to end up with 3 a lot. And once in a blue moon, you might
Jeff or Brandon
with 4. So you're going to end up with the SEC is still going to dominate this thing. So it's not going to matter. It just means
there's no doubt about that.
It's just going to give every power conference an automatic bid to get drilled. And then it's going to give some of these a group of 5 team like Cincinnati a chance where they could win 1 game, get to the semifinals, and get flattened like a pancake.
See, now that's one thing that I totally disagree with. The Power 5 having an automatic bid. I do not agree with that in the least. So a 3-loss Pac-12 champion, so ipso facto champion, gets to play in the Final 8 because they won the Pac-12. Give me a damn break, dude.
I'm just telling you.
That's what I'm telling you. Make it the 8 best teams and put them in the playoffs. Don't say, hey, we're going to do the Power 5 champion and then the 3 best teams outside of that.
Well,
garbage, bro.
I understand what you're saying. I'm not saying I disagree. I'm just saying that all these the conferences are wanting to play a piece of the pie.
They all want a seat at the table,
and they all want to. Yeah, exactly. And that's what's going to happen. And if they expand to 8 and still say you don't automatically get in, and the Pac-12's over here still you're thinking that defense is a disease and not getting in, they're going to be raising hell.
Yeah,
I mean
that is the liberal BS that we're having to deal with nowadays in participation trophies.
Well, I look forward to them getting their ass beat myself.
You want a seat at the table? Win your damn football game. Bottom line. You guys have a great day.
Thanks for the call, Spencer. All right, let's go. Let's stay on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Let's see how this one goes. I'm hoping for positivity, but I don't.
Hey, you had a first-round pick. First-round pick at linebacker.
Jeff from the Borough with us. Good morning, Jeff.
I wish we'd seen that kid play. He had COVID when they played Alabama. But I mean, it's a first-round draft choice.
There we go. Good morning, Jeff.
How's it going, guys?
Doing good.
Well, yeah, we had 6 draft picks, so that's pretty good.
Pretty solid.
That's pretty good. I didn't watch the draft, but heard about the picks, so I don't like to watch the paint dry, so I just assumed.
Not a draft guy, huh, Jeff?
I'd better watch the NBA draft one night, 3 hours, in 3 or 4 days. That crap. I just soon watch the NBA draft, so I'll watch that and be done with it. So
right,
I'd rather watch baseball or some other sports going on rather than that. But 6 picks and Max Duffy got picked in the CFL draft. Toronto Argonauts picked him. They have a global draft where they have their draft, so he got picked in that. So hopefully he does well up there. So that's the way it goes. So I'm surprised Drake Jackson didn't get drafted. But,
yeah, me too. You talking about center Drake Jackson? That's surprising. I mean, that's about it. That was about as surprising as Dylan Moses not getting drafted in the 3rd day. I would have thought Drake Jackson. That's something I was an oversight on my part. I honestly didn't realize he didn't get drafted. He was a great player.
Yeah, well, they said he was too small, and he just played center too. If he'd have played guard or tackle, he might have had a chance. But he just played center all the time he was in college, and I guess he wasn't versatile enough. He signed with the Lions, so he'll be with Stenberg up there.
There you go.
Hopefully he'll get a shot. But as far as the playoffs goes, I guess Spencer, we got computers pick every sport game we done. Instead of play basketball turn, we have computers pick that, won't we? Just have computers pick that and every other sport in the NCAA. So we can have that, like I say. But no, there'll be a committee. Spencer, I'm sorry, babe, but that's the way things go. That they'll probably expand it at some point to 16, and then the bowls will be obsolete. They won't be anymore. Just like Nick Saban says, the bowls aren't important anymore because of the playoff. That's what Nick Saban says. I agree with him. They're not as important anymore as they used to be.
Yeah, they're not.
It's just like Nick Saban said years ago. You'd be happy with the bowl game, and now you're not. It's like I watched the documentary one time, and years ago they were talking about Michigan, Ohio State. They was talking about Woody Hayes and Bo Schembechler. They never thought about winning the national title for them winning the Rose Bowl was enough for them. They weren't worried about winning an AP national title or any other national title and things like that. So it's just the way society is. It's the way it is nowadays. I don't particularly like the playoff system, but it's what we got. The big schools don't need it. The smaller schools do. The FCS is the Division II, Division III is needed. Their games aren't on television as much as the FBS is, or 1A, whatever you want to call it. So this spring football, the FCS is supposed to be a showcase for FCS. It wasn't. There wasn't any games on television except Jackson State and Deion Sanders. That's about it. That's about all we saw. So there wasn't any games on. And as far as Jackson State and Tennessee State, the Deion Sanders and Eddie George, there's a difference between those two teams. No matter how good Jackson State is, they'll never make the playoff, no matter how good they are.
That's right.
They're in a league that doesn't want to play in the playoff. They'd rather have that stupid championship game that's dumb as all get out.
That would be the SWAC conference. And yep, I totally agree with you on that one. Totally agree.
Just like the guy I know who does the TSU, he has to football and basketball. He does a show in Nashville. And he said one day, I'm glad Tennessee State is not in the SWAC. He said, I'm glad they're not in that league. Because Eddie George, if he has a good enough team, he'll get to go to the playoffs and play for a national championship. Yeah. That's just the way it is. But Scott, I wanted to ask you and Drew, how many games you think Alabama A&M is going to win Friday in Knoxville when they play in NCAA tennis tournament? How many games you think they win over under?
I'm going to say maybe one. Maybe one, if that. I mean, I applaud Alabama A&M for getting there, for winning the SWAC and everything. But they're going up against, I believe, Tennessee's the 3rd overall seed.
I mean, at least they're competing for a championship in that sport.
But I don't see them. I mean, yes, it's going to be a nice sightseeing trip going from Normal, Alabama, which is where A&M is actually, by the way, all the way to Knoxville. So my alma mater's playing in Oxford. They're playing Tulane on Saturday. And today the men's golf pairs comes out. They'll be getting their hopefully they can play near Nashville. Vanderbilt hosting a regional in Kingston Springs, so hopefully they can play near there. But guys, have a good one. All right, thank you. Let's stay on there real fast. Let's get one more in. Brandon's with us this morning. Good morning, Brandon.
What up, Brandon?
Good morning, gentlemen. I want to talk about this Jameson Williams. This guy is a dude. This guy's a guy that would be a starter on a Power 5 team that was just in the national championship, and he just up and walks out of Ohio State and decides to come on to Alabama. Other than a quarterback, I don't know that I've ever seen such a highly rated recruit do something like that. Have y'all ever seen a player do that?
Well, I mean,
or is this the first big pillar to fall in the transfer period?
It is. It's one of those.
Justin Fields left Georgia,
Well,
went to Ohio State.
He already talked about quarterbacks, but probably one of the more high-profile guys to do it, Brandon. It's going to be something that you're going to start seeing now that they pass this transfer rule, if it stays into effect. Now, we don't know if it will every year, but if it does, it may allow you to transfer once. You're going to see some of these big-time kids who are not satisfied with their first year or two that they are being developed, and they're going to end up transferring to another school. It's just inevitable, I would think.
Well, it just amazed me that Saban can have whatever he wants. If he wants the best player on your team, and he'll take them, they're going up and go. So these other conferences like the Pac-12, like Spencer was talking about, they better be on notice, because at this point, the SEC is going to take what it wants, when it wants, and everybody get in the back seat and like it.
Well, Saban warned everybody about that. He said, well, everybody's talking about the portal and thinking our guys are going to leave. He's like, I don't think we're going to lose many, especially guys that, are playing prominent roles and starting. He goes, but I think it'll benefit us. And that's what he's talking about, is being able to get a guy like Jameson Williams. So he was basically foreshadowing pretty much.
Oh, I completely agree with you. It was shocking to me. And as far as picking the BCS by the computers, I mean, I don't really know. I think it's done a pretty good job.
Yeah.
But those finite things about, you're going to have to give the Power 5 all the conferences a seat at the table for the money, or they're not going to want to participate. Nobody's really going to care.
Agreed. That was what we were, but yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Nobody's going to give a crap if the Pac-12 don't play, because they don't have anybody. I've had a friend that lives out there and was talking about going to their championship games and buying tickets for $40. You can't park for $40 at an Alabama home game.
True.
That's very true.
That is true. No, they all want a piece. I mean, it's worth, and if it does go 8, I mean, think about, I think it's what did we say yesterday? It's like $500 million or something like that. They split between the Power 5s. I mean, it's going to be about $1 billion before this is all said and done. And the Power 5s are going to want the majority of the money, because they're the ones that are sending majority of the teams to the playoffs. So that's the way it's all going to come down to money. It's all about money.
Well, all I can say is my new rule is, if the parking costs more at my home game than it does your championship game, then when you come to the table, you need to be real quiet. Real
All right, Brandon. Let's. We got to get our break in at 7:25, because Chris Lee needs to join us here in a little bit. We'll continue this talk
Talking
after
SEC baseball.
You're listening to Talkin Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Had a couple of accidents reported. Parkway southbound at Governor's, it's clear. Pulaski Pike and Patterson Lane, maybe a couple more minutes on it. And they called for an arson investigator on a vehicle fire. 53 near MLK, still maybe a slowdown there. 2030 Fast Track can make your clothes fall off. Allison lost 100 pounds in 7 months on the plan. A free hormone quiz will tell you if it can work for you. 2030huntsville.com. Captain Nick in the 72 and Jeff Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
This is Wes Neighbors talking to Chris Haygood of Bob Wallace Appliance. Chris, what sets you apart from other appliance dealerships?
Wes, these appliances are going into the most used room in your house, your kitchen. The way we have these appliances displayed, it's easy for you to visualize how they'll look in your home. Wes, what sets us apart is the people. They're well trained. In fact, they live and breathe these appliances. And if you need service, you'll really appreciate our parts department.
Contact Bob Wallace Appliance at 256-533-2121.
Tom Luganbill here for Woody Anderson Ford. When I was in the Tennessee Valley, one of the things that impressed me the most was the quality of the people. People like Bobby White and his team at Woody Anderson Ford. And now you can experience the tremendous new service lanes and showroom at Woody Anderson Ford, at Jordan and Sparkman, or just stop by for breakfast or lunch at Henry's Mustang Cafe. And in Madison, Visit Woody Anderson of Madison on Hughes Road, just south of 72. Like a great college football tradition, always there. Woody Anderson Ford.
I love overpriced stuff. Avocados, designer t-shirts, artisanal water, you name it. That's why I get my internet from the other guys. Paying more for the same stuff. What could be better?
Wow is better, because for just $29.99 per month, we give you the super fast, reliable internet you need and the awesome customer service you deserve. Switch to Internet 100 for just $29.99 per month. And now, learn how to get $150 on us at Huawei.com. Limited to new customers with auto pay and paperless billing, equipment, taxes, and fees extra. Offer subject to change. Restrictions and terms apply.
Here's a list of what we have: the Crimson Tide Sports Network, the Atlanta Braves Radio Network, Madison Academy Football, UAH Basketball, the SEC Radio Network, the College Football National Championship Game, the SEC Football Championship Game, NBA Playoffs, MLB Playoffs, and that's just the starting lineup. 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
That fact is important for you to know.
This is Chuck Oliver. Listen to me coming up at noon today. Now, back to Talkin Ball with Scott Theisen and Drew DeArmond on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Chris, ready to go. Here we are. All right, 7:27 here on a Wednesday morning. And welcome back to Talkin Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. And baseball talk, big baseball weekend in the SEC, because we're getting down to crunch time now, and this is where teams are going to start trying to solidify their seeds going to Hoover. Teams that are on the outside are going to try picking up wins, kind of like Texas A&M, Auburn, LSU. They're going to trying to get into this series. One of the teams that's already there is Vanderbilt. But they've gotten off to that real hot start, but because of the gauntlet that is the SEC, they're in a fight with Tennessee for that top spot in the East. And Alabama comes to town this weekend, Drew, needing some wins to solidify a seed as well in Hoover.
Yeah, they do. And it's going to be an interesting 3 weeks, and it's going to be really tough. Alabama's got, a lot of good teams left to play, including the next one, which they're trying to fight for the regular season SEC championship. They're a game back of Arkansas. It's a three-way dance, tied for second with Vanderbilt, Tennessee, and Mississippi State. All these teams, really top 5, top 10 teams in the country. It's why it's the best league in America. And, and who better than to help us break it down than somebody that has been covering Vanderbilt with VandySports.com, part of the Rivals Network, for many, many years. And as we noted, he and our good friends Barry Allen, who is a SEC baseball encyclopedia, certainly, and, of course, Blake Lovell, they have started the new Southeastern14.com. And Chris Lee has been good enough to join us this morning on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Chris, welcome back to Huntsville. You were through with Scott. Good morning to you, sir.
Hey, good morning to you guys.
Yeah, good morning. Tough night, though, last night. We were talking Vanderbilt baseball. Tough night last night, taking on 15th-ranked Louisville.
Yeah, it was. That was one of those games that, a couple of swings of the bat. I mean, it was really the quintessential game where a couple of swings of the bat that make a big difference. That game's 7-2, but Vanderbilt missed 2 home runs by about 2 feet. Louisville scored all but 2 of the runners that got on, and Vandy left 9 on. It was just one of those things where situational execution was a key, and one team executed and one team didn't, and that's just the way baseball goes.
Yeah, it can be, a cruel game. And then, of course, we know Vandy's coming off of a very rare conference series loss. They're only their second of the year against the Florida Gators, and it got a little chippy in that series, Chris.
It did. It always does. I think Jack Leftwich had some words for them. I think the Gators may have dumped an entire swimming pool around first base. If you watch that game, Enrique Bradfield on Sunday, who's causing everybody problems, right? But Florida's got a really good offensive catcher in Nathan Hickey, but the problem is he can't throw anybody out. And nobody can throw Enrique Bradfield out. And you would see him get on, and I think there were 9 pickoff throws one time. He got on first. His uniform at one point, after one at bat, was more brown than it was black, I think, just from all the mud that got on him. At one point, he changed uniforms in the fourth inning. I don't think I've ever seen that.
Oh, wow.
Unless somebody had their pants ripped. That's how much mud there was at first base. But, look, it's always interesting between Vanderbilt and Florida. I kind of circled the stretch for Vanderbilt before the year and said, look, the timing on this is brutal. They're going to be playing three teams, and I don't think we knew how good Tennessee would be at the time, but we knew they'd be pretty good. Basically, they played, two teams that would be national seeds today in the last 3 weekends. In Florida, the preseason number one team, which is kind of coming around, and you throw a midweek game in Louisville. By the way, they're in the middle of exams, Vanderbilt is. Which, not that those exams aren't tough on everybody, but at Vanderbilt, I think you can add a couple layers of that, given the class load and the fact that the school doesn't do a lot of favors for its athletes. But, yeah, I mean, it was predictable. They're 5-5 now in their last 10, or 6-5 if you throw in a midweek win against somebody. But it was predictable given who they were playing and what they're up against. And I guess the bad news if you're Alabama, exams in this week, so you'll get kids who are finally going to start to get rest and not have that classwork burden hanging over them.
Yeah, and be a little angry.
Yeah, I mean, the question is, how's Tim Corbin?
Yeah.
How does Tim Corbin feel about this stretch right now? And I mean, he's the one that has the best pulse on all of the kids. And how's he feeling about where his team is at?
Well, we haven't gotten him in a while. They were on the road in Florida. I don't think they did the Sunday media session. They didn't do one last night, I think, coming out of Louisville because they had to drive home and exams. We'll talk to him today. My expectation is he'll be pretty even-keeled. He knew before the season that they had maybe the most inexperienced lineup in the league coming in. That they had what looked like a pretty good pitching staff coming into the year, not just Rocker and Leiter, but the depth. But you look now, and Michael Doolin had Tommy John surgery, hasn't thrown a pitch. He might have been the mix for being a third starter. They had Sam Leboke, who was their third starter / midweek guy for a while, and then their long relief guy. He hurt his elbow. I think he's done for the year. Spencer Jones, who's their DH sometimes against right-handers, was going to pitch for them, came in as a two-way player, still hadn't thrown a pitch because he's had 2 arm issues, and he can only hit right now. You throw in on top of that, Ethan Smith got popped for a COVID test, and I don't even know if it's valid. He's missed a month now. He probably would be their third starter. So you look at it and you say, they've got a lineup that didn't have a lot of experience, maybe the greenest lineup in the league. And they had probably 4 significant pitching injuries that ate into the depth. And frankly, you could form a competent SEC rotation just out of the guys they've got hurt. Now, look, nobody's feeling sorry for Vanderbilt, right? They've still got Rocker and Leiter and a lot of other really talented arms. But I think the toll of things has started to take an effect in the last few weeks. And I think if they get to the postseason in one piece, this will be one of those things that might make them come out stronger.
Well, and I think they'll benefit. Everybody in the SEC will benefit, Chris, from playing other people out in other leagues, because this league is such a shark tank. Alabama's coming in. They're 9-3 in their last 12 in the SEC. They're 11-10 overall. They've got a chance to get to Hoover, but they've got Vanderbilt on the road, LSU on the road, and then Mississippi State at home. This is an Alabama team too, like Vanderbilt you just mentioned. They've had pitching injuries. Connor Prelip has thrown 6 innings all year. They've only got, I think they only had 9 pitchers available last weekend in that sweep of Missouri, and they canceled their midweek game against Samford. How do you see this matchup? To me, it would be a victory for Alabama to take one game. I guess the one solace they can take is Leiter has struggled a little bit the last 2 or 3 weekends.
Yeah, I think struggled would be putting it mildly. I mean, it's been wild to see him go from a guy who literally was the most unhittable pitcher I've ever seen at Vanderbilt. I've seen a few good ones. To a kid that now they're like, can they get him into the 5th inning with the lead? I mean, it's been that dramatic. He's given up 8 home runs the last 3 games. You watch him, and I don't know what the root cause of it is, but it's not hard to figure out what's gone wrong. He's left a lot of fat pitches right over the heart of the plate. I think from watching him earlier, his fastball, which he's got a 4-seamer, that the thing that makes it work is it stays on plane. In other words, most pitchers throw a ball that you build in your head as a hitter that it's going to dip a couple of inches. His is so fast and it's got such a high spin rate that it doesn't do that. And I sat behind the home plate for the South Carolina game where he had the no-hitter, and I think all 17 of his strikeouts were on the fastball. They were all swinging under it, and they were all missing it probably by a good bit of a baseball. Now that pitch has started to not go letter high. It's been belt high. It's gotten hit at that point. The breaking ball has been hung a few times. Again, I say that you look at this and you say exams and all the things, and frankly, a lot of guys on this team, they've never played this much baseball in their life, including Jack Leiter, sophomore. But, the season ended before the conference started. So I think maybe he's just hit a wall, but certainly that is not the give me that it was 3 or 4 weeks ago. And seeing how quickly that's changed has been kind of astonishing.
Yeah, really is.
It really is. But Kumar Rocker, though, has lived up to everything we thought. He had the one hiccup against Georgia, but really has been the best pitcher in the SEC thus far, Chris.
Yeah, I think he has too. And the thing about Kumar is he can beat you two ways. One way is the strike everybody out guy that you saw against Duke last year and you've seen a few other times. The other way is the guy who will pitch to contact some and show pinpoint control. And I think a couple of weekends ago, he gets a complete game against Mississippi State. He, air quotes, only strikes out 8 guys. But what he did was he put the ball in play and he didn't give free passes. And you don't see a lot of complete games at any level of baseball, but he got one because he stayed ahead in counts and he wasn't dependent on striking everybody out. Now, having said that, State is a lineup that strikes out less than anybody in the league, so there's that. But point is, this is a kid who can win a couple of ways, and we've seen that this year.
Well, what's the I know Alabama comes up there this weekend. What's the fans' stands right now? I mean, are they allowing more to Vanderbilt home games?
We know Coach Corbin was wanting that.
Yeah, are they allowing more now?
Yeah. They're supposed – I don't know what I think it's going to be 40 to 50% for this weekend, which I think is silly. Everybody – who hasn't gotten vaccinated at this point, guys? Everybody's either gotten them both done or is in the middle of it or know the risks at this point. So I don't think it's going to be full capacity, but it's going to be better than it's been.
And then your thoughts on I know you follow this entire league with Southeastern14.com. Your thoughts on Alabama? They've got a shot now if they can tread water. And what I mean by that is, 4-6, 5-5 with who they're playing the last 3 weekends. I think would lock it up before Hoover. But if it's less than that, then Alabama may have to win some games. What is your thoughts on Alabama matching up with Vandy on the road?
Yeah, I really like the job that Brad Bohannon has done. And we talked about injuries. Vanderbilt's not the only team that's had them. I mean, Auburn's had them. Alabama's certainly had them. Ole Miss has had them. LSU lost the guy that was supposed to be its ace. So Alabama, it seems like to me, has had more than its share with losing its ace. I think Antoine Jean is maybe done for the year. You guys may know better than I do. So I think that this was a situation where that was a program that hadn't had a lot of confidence in a while because they haven't won in a while. It's like they've been at the bottom of the league. And last year he had it going and then COVID wiped it out. So they had to hit pause and start over again. I look at them. It's one of those teams where I think Peyton Wilson's done a really good job. Denton's done a good job. Prater is a catcher who has some pop at times. You don't look at their lineup and think, that's one of the more feared ones in the league, but they've scored 120 runs in the league, which isn't bad. You look at their bullpen depth. I think Freeman and Chase Lee have gotten in big outs at times. The pitcher, Dylan Smith, has just been really good for a lot of starts, but just can't get a lead and can't catch a break. I think it's an uphill battle, and I agree with you. I think that if Alabama wins one game, you probably go home happy because, frankly, I think Bama, even if it just goes 3-6 on the way out, 14-16 in the league, you would think would be good enough to get you in the NCAA tournament. The RPI is 27 today or was yesterday. Now, the problem for Bama is you look through and just is not won a big series. I mean, it's wins have been against A&M and Auburn and Missouri, and none of those teams are heading to the NCAA tournament, although I think Auburn's a little better than maybe people realize. That the record has been full of tough luck and all kinds of things. And but that was a team that, a lot of these kids won the College World Series 2 years ago. But the problem for them, I think, is going to be if you don't get a series against either Vandy or Mississippi State, the committee may look at that and say, I don't know, 14 and 16, but the wins came against the bottom half of the league. Again, I don't know what you do with RPI this year because of the unbalanced schedules across the country. I think I would lean towards putting Alabama in. That bit is probably a little bit of a homerish stance here in SEC country, given I don't get to see the rest of the country. But I think given just the brutality of the schedule that you play and the fact that they have navigated some injuries and some tough luck, you would hope they would get the benefit of the doubt.
Are you shocked at all by LSU sitting there at 7-14 coming into the weekend?
Yes and no. I think if you knew Jaden Hill was not going to pitch most of the year and not be really effective when he did, you would have some issues or you would have some questions about them. But I said this before the season, guys. You looked at where they were in the polls, and they had, 6-7 teams in the top 10. They had 11 or 12 teams, depending on your source, getting projected for the NCAA tournament. And you start doing the math on that, right? And you say you've only got X amount of wins to go around, whether the league is good or bad. And if it's that top heavy, which it turns out it has been, you've got, 5 or 6 teams that could host, maybe 7 who could host, and probably 5 who've got a solid claim on a national seed today. You just do the math and you say somebody's going to win and somebody's going to lose. And if the top end teams are winning that much, that's going to create trouble for someone at the bottom. Now, I think LSU probably would not have been the first team I would have picked. But again, if you'd known Hill was going to be hurt, maybe it was. So that's kind of a long answer. But I think the situation that LSU is in really says more about the league than it does about LSU.
And Chris, as we're wrapping it up, I know it's early to start the speculation. There's still 3 weekends left, so there can be some fluctuation. Is the number in your mind right now for the SEC 9 to get into the NCAA tournament? Would that be kind of the cutoff point?
Well, here's what I've got in front of me. I've projected out wins the rest of the year. I've got a 4-way tie at the top between Arkansas, Vandy, Tennessee, and Mississippi State. I don't even know how that.
All national seeds, in my opinion, and all hosting.
Yeah, all deserving national seeds, and I think too. Ole Miss. Now listen to this, guys. Ole Miss, I've got finishing 1 behind. Ole Miss just swept South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
Ole Miss is going to have Vandy at home, which I think Ole Miss will take 2 or 3 with his pitching getting better. You start breaking down records against RPI top 10 and stuff, and looking really closely. And I know Ole Miss has looked awful at times, but the NCAA tournament is about your resume and what you bank. And they got some awfully good wins. And so I think Ole Miss could sneak in as maybe a 5th national seed. I think South Carolina, that's going to be one that's tough. I think if they just taken 1 game at Ole Miss, they've got a solid chance to host. I've got them winning 16. I don't know that they're going to get there as a 1 seed, but I wouldn't rule it out, depending on what happens between now and the end of the season. And by the way, Wes Clark's got to hit them at some point, you would think. Florida's the one. I think Carolina and Florida both get in. I'm really interested to see how the committee treats Florida next week, because the Gators they've got 2 really nice series wins against Ole Miss and Vandy, but the RPI is 29. They lost that series to Miami. They didn't do much in the midweek. I don't know how much leniency you give them. They've been awful on the road. They go play Kentucky this week, and Florida's been awful on the road and great at home. So I think I'm watching that one really closely. If Florida wins a couple at Kentucky, then I think they might be in the hosting mix at that point, probably would be. The teams I'm worried about are Georgia, Alabama, and Kentucky. Georgia has got at Arkansas, at Florida, Ole Miss coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's horrid. Alabama, we've talked about. Vandy and Mississippi State is its 2 series. LSU, boy, I'd like that one better if it was in Tuscaloosa. Going down to Baton Rouge could be tough. So Alabama, a little bit in that same spot. Kentucky really up against it. Kentucky has not banked a lot of good wins. It has won 3 series in the league. Those have been Missouri, Auburn, Alabama. That's not going to really get you a lot of push in terms of your resume. They've got to end with Florida, South Carolina, and at Vanderbilt. Again, that's one of the toughest 2 or 3 stretches that anybody's got. So, to me, I think you've got 7 teams that are safe, and frankly, all could host. Then you've got Georgia, Alabama, Kentucky, and maybe LSU. But the problem with LSU is even if it wins a lot of games the last 3 weekends, I don't know how much Auburn, Alabama, and A&M push the needle. Now, you take 2 or 3 against Alabama. If Alabama gets in, that helps. But I think that right now it is stacking up as very much of a 2-tiered league where I think you've got about 7 teams safe and about 4 teams, if you include LSU, that could make it but have got a really tough road ahead.
Well, great stuff from Chris Lee. No better college baseball conversation than with this man. But thank you, sir. We appreciate the time this morning. And let everybody know how to connect with you. And, of course, vandysports.com and southeastern14.com.
Yeah, you can go to our site, just southeastern14.com. All the content is free. Follow us on Twitter at 14southeastern.com. You can get all of our content there. You can also, I think most places where you get your podcast, and subscribe to us. I know Apple Podcasts is one for sure where you can subscribe. We do a podcast generally 5 days a week. Every now and then we skip a weekday, but if it is happening in SEC football, basketball, and baseball, we are talking about it. Our focus mostly has been on basketball and baseball because those are in season, but that will change as soon as baseball is over and the conversation shifts to the fall. But I think if you like the SEC, if you feel like baseball and basketball are criminally undercovered, which we think they are, you will really like the stuff that we offer.
Yes, sir.
Thanks,
Thank
Chris.
you, man. Really have a great rest of your week, man. We appreciate it.
Always fun. Thanks, guys.
Let's get a break in. When we come back, we're going to wrap up hour number 1 with your phone calls.
You're listening to Talkin Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
We're back to a clean slate now. The wrecks on the Parkway southbound at Governors and at Pulaski Pike and Patterson Lane should be pretty well cleared up now. 53 and MLK, we had a vehicle fire. They called for an arson investigator there. And we got a minor accident just reported University near Enterprise. That one's coming in as a no injury. Routine care to heart failure. Dr. Randall Burns and the team at Huntsville Heart Specialists have the expertise to care for all matters of the heart. Doctor visits are important. Please don't put them off. Captain Nick in the North Parkway Popeyes Skywatch Traffic Center.
Depression is a daily battle, but there is a new weapon to help you fight depression: transcranial magnetic stimulation, or TMS. TMS is an innovative FDA-approved therapy for patients with severe depression. TMS is non-invasive and not a drug. It is a safe, effective in-office procedure designed to activate natural functions in your brain's neurotransmitters. Find out if TMS is right for you. Contact IBH of Madison at 256-975-4162 or log on ibhus.com.
I'm attorney Gary Lackey. You know, you'll hear people say we're like a family, but here at the Lackey Law Firm, that's really true, not just a saying.
I'm Justin Lackey. With my father and my sister, we have a special connection to each other.
I'm Jennifer Lackey. At the Lackey Law Firm, when we take on your case, you become part of our family. You really do.
And we'll always do whatever it takes to get everything you deserve.
If you're injured, you worry about getting well, not about paperwork or insurance companies or figuring out how to get to your lawyer's office. I'll come to you.
We worry about your case so you don't have to.
When you've been injured, we know that your case is probably the biggest thing going on in your life. More important than almost anything else.
And it's important to us too, for one simple reason. Family takes care of each other, and at the Lackey Law Firm, we'll take care of you.
The Lackey Law Firm. The Lackey Law Family. 1-800-4-RIGHTS.
No representation is made that the quality of the legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
You've got to experience Toyotathon at Phil Penny Toyota. They've got the selection with over 700 new Toyotas to choose from. And they've got the extras with Bill Penny perks and a 10-year unlimited warranty. So get on over to Bill Penny Toyota today and experience Toyotathon. Bill Penny Toyota in Huntsville and online at BillPennyToyota.com. Bill Penny's Toyota 10-year unlimited warranty is valid through the 10th year of ownership. Valid on new vehicles only. See dealer for details.
256-576-4977.
Hold it.
That's 256-576-4977.
Okay, we have about 6 minutes to the music, my son.
7:50 here on a Wednesday morning, 256-576-4977. That's the number to the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. You can get in on any of the conversation that you've heard so far this morning, and most of it has revolved around you and your questions, and that was the college football playoffs. Spencer has talked about that. Jeff and the Burrow talked about that as well.
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting. I've got to bring this up because Jeff is he is such a interesting character because he didn't watch much of if at all of the NFL draft. He doesn't like that. He wants to watch. He said he'd watch the NBA draft. I don't know if it's actually. It's not going to be a Kentucky infomercial this year. They may.
No, it's not. Believe it or not. Okay, go ahead. Finish your thought.
Well, I mean, there might be a player or two, and then of course, what happened to Terrence Clark? That's just horrific. Okay,
right.
And he would have had a chance to have his name called, and certainly Brandon Boston will have a chance to have it, pretty early to have his name called as well. But then to watch the Canadian Football League draft, come on, Jeff. I mean, I have to say something about that. But really, what I was going to say though, Scott, what I want to hear before this end of this first hour, we just been talking college baseball with Chris Lee,
right?
And you were talking about Dan McDonnell, who's an outspoken guy for Louisville, and we were talking, and we were talking about crowds,
yes.
And as you heard Chris Lee saying, 40 to 50% for Vanderbilt now in Alabama. And as he said, it's really ridiculous. They need to go.
Well, Vanderbilt played at Louisville last night.
Right.
Okay, top 25 matchup.
Yeah, two teams that are could be both in Omaha. Yeah,
could be a super regional.
It could be that too.
Yeah, could be a super regional matchup. Dan McConnell's like, we gotta get some fans back in the stands. Why is it not wanting to play?
We can't get Dan McDonnell's rant here from Louisville.
Oh no. Okay, let's just do this because I know it.
Yeah.
I played it earlier because that's how I listened to it, and
yeah.
Okay, we're gonna have to try to. I'm gonna try to reload it.
And we have what I was gonna say too. We have a tie to Louisville now in our city with Reed Detmers.
Right.
Who is going to be. And by the way,
he didn't get to pitch
last
night.
Update. We kind of thought this might happen. Unfortunately, it was rained out yesterday. Hoping to have the inaugural game tonight at Chattanooga.
I'm trying to get this done. And sometimes the audio doesn't like me.
Yeah.
And we played all kinds of sound during Zone Center, and it worked just fine. And apparently,
I looked at
well, the sound works. I just can't get Dan McDonald to come through for some odd reason. So
may have to go to that in the second hour.
We will get to it because I want everybody to
hopefully
hear.
We can kick it off in the second hour.
Right. But you also brought up Kentucky basketball.
Yeah.
And I read something on The Athletic and it dealt with John Calipari, and somebody on their little fan mailbag asked about how hot of a seat John Calipari is for next year.
Yeah.
And the response was, let's just put it this way. He cannot have another season like he had this past year, or he will be out, or the state of Kentucky will implode, one of the two. And that because of the way, if the NBA decides to either push or back up the age limit, it could force John Calipari to have to make some serious changes. And if he doesn't adapt to those changes, he won't be at Kentucky for much longer.
And I guess you're talking about allowing kids to turn pro out of high school.
Or if they say, you know what, because Steve Kerr is trying to push it for at least move the age limit back a year so that they actually have to stay in college for 2 years.
Amen to this. Steve, I know you're a Democrat. I don't really agree with your politics, but that rule I completely agree with. Thank you, Steve Kerr. That is what needs to happen in basketball. You need more mature players, more polished players. I'm sorry. It has diluted the game. Now, you still should be able to turn pro out of high school, and there'll be kids that do. There'll be a few that make it big. Most of them will flop because I don't think they're going to be ready physically or emotionally. But yes, you need to stay in school longer. No doubt about it.
All right, hour one just about in the books. And when we come back, we've got a lot of stuff to get to. And hour number two, name, image, and likeness is going to lead the way.
Alabama already
transfer portal.
Put theirs out yesterday. That was an interesting deal on their Twitter account.
Yep.
Chris Stewart, of course, doing the mic'd up and doing the audio for that. But an interesting way Alabama trying to get out ahead of that and starting out to promote their name, image, and likeness program.
Yep, they've got all of it. Alabama joins Texas, Florida State, and several other schools trying to get out in front of this on July 1st. How much value does a top recruiting class have? And who does Ari Wasserman think who is the best evaluator in college football in talent? He puts it on the line. We're going to put it on the line for you.
There's
in
only
hour
one
number
answer to this
two.
question, and if it's not the one that I think it should be, he's an idiot.
Oh, we'll find out if he is or not in hour number two. Stay with us.
Tom Luganbill here for Woody Anderson Ford. When I was in the Tennessee Valley, one of the things that impressed me the most was the quality of the people. People like Bobby White and his team at Woody Anderson Ford. And now you can experience the tremendous new service lanes and showroom at Woody Anderson Ford, at Jordan and Sparkman, or just stop by for breakfast or lunch at Henry's Mustang Cafe. And in Madison, visit Woody Anderson of Madison on Hughes Road, just south of 72. Like a great college football tradition, always there, Woody Anderson Ford.
This is Wes Neighbors talking to Chris Haygood of Bob Wallace Appliance. Chris, what sets you apart from other appliance dealerships?
Wes, these appliances are going into the most used room in your house, your kitchen. The way we have these appliances displayed, it's easy for you to visualize how they'll look in your home. Wes, what sets us apart is the people. They're well trained. In fact, they live and breathe these appliances. And if you need service, you'll really appreciate our parts department.
Contact Bob Wallace Appliance at 256-533-2121.
WZZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
On it. Trying to be cleared. 53 near MLK. I think they called an arson investigator on that one. No mask, no hose.
Yeah, I can hear it.
From Dr. Sandman's an easy-to-use oral device, insurance approved for sleep apnea and for snoring. 350-CARE or RandallSandlin.com. Captain Nick in the 72 and Jap Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
From the WZDX Pinpoint Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. A mostly cloudy sky this afternoon. We'll get to enjoy a few peaks of sunshine, but that sunshine really isn't going to help us warm up at all. Highs only hanging out in the upper 60s and lower 70s, dropping into the upper 40s and lower 50s through the overnight. Looks like we get to enjoy far more sunshine for your Thursday afternoon, but again, it's not going to be all that warm across North Alabama, southern Middle Tennessee. Temperatures once again hanging out in the upper 60s and lower 70s, dropping into the upper 40s, lower 50s as we head into the overnight Friday. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio. Radio, 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
This is Brett Musburger's Action Update. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all of your car care needs. Stop by your local O'Reilly Auto Parts today. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better prices every day. Now, here are the latest lines from my guys in the desert.
Michelle Watterson and Marina Rodriguez will compete in the main event of UFC Fight Night. The women's strawweight belt has Watterson at plus 180 on the money line and Rodriguez at minus 210. Updated odds for the 2021 NFL MVP. Patrick Mahomes leads the way at plus 400, followed by Aaron Rodgers at plus 700. Josh Allen is at plus 800, followed by Dak Prescott, expected to make his return to the Cowboys lineup after being sidelined with an injury last year, at plus 1,300, with Lamar Jackson at plus 1,400. Wells Fargo Championship underway tomorrow. Justin Thomas and John Rahm each at plus 1,100. Bryson DeChambeau plus 1,400. Rory McIlroy and Xander Schauffele plus 1,800. I'm Trey Westerberg, 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Log on today, 977ESPN.com. Welcome to Talkin Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Scott.
All right, here we go. Good morning. As always, this segment of Talking Ball brought to you by our very good friends over at Terrell Technical Services Incorporated. They offer that full line of environmental health and safety services, including industrial hygiene, asbestos, mold and bacterial services, Legionella testing, water management plans, lead-based paint inspection assessments, and abatement plans, environmental site assessments, LEED certified air testing, and more. Their staff does hold all that US EPA accreditations and nationally recognized certifications and credentials to necessitate your project to completion. Give Terrell Technical Services a call today, 256-461-9278, to discuss your environmental health or safety needs. And we were trying to do this before hour one concluded. We worked on it during the break. You heard it. You know it works.
Right.
Okay, here is Louisville head coach Dan McDonnell on the Krauts.
I'm getting meter, but no sound.
Okay, see, something's going on because we played it during the break. It played just fine. We had it run and test, and it played just fine, and now it's not playing at all.
Yeah, okay.
It's good. I promise it's good.
I wish we could play it.
But anyway.
I heard part of it during the break. I don't know why it's got the gremlins here where it's not playing.
We'll figure it out. Hopefully we'll get to it. But anyway, we move on. Another state has added to the name, image, and likeness. Georgia signed a bill now to allow athletes to take advantage of their name, image, and likeness beginning July 1st. They are joined by Alabama, Florida, among others, in the SEC. Tennessee passed a bill last week. Governor Bill Lee is expected to sign that in the near future. Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas, Florida have all signed bills. South Carolina's has been passed but not signed yet. So those are the schools that have already taken advantage of it. The NCAA, Florida was a little tentative on theirs because they didn't want the NCAA to come back and punish the athletes because the NCAA does not have a name, image, and likeness bill planned for themselves yet. These are individual states doing this.
Yeah,
but
our late as always.
Yeah, but Florida State University President John Thrasher and Mark Emmert met last week and was assured by the NCAA that they would not come after Florida schools or athletes using their name, image, and likeness rights. And as we also talked about, Alabama joined schools like Texas, Florida State, and others in passing or not passing, but recognizing this, and they are going to call their student one called the Advantage. And this is where Alabama will help educate athletes. It's going to focus on brand management, maximizing personal social media platforms, and financial literacy. It's going to give them all the tools that they need to build and evaluate their personal brands. And there are other schools, as we mentioned, that are calling it different things, but it's all this same platform where they are going to basically educate these kids, these athletes, on how to take advantage of their name, image, and likeness. Drew and Errol Thompson from Florence, the Mississippi State standout, is urging athletes, especially those, to visit and download the app at Icon Source, and because they are ready to connect with thousands of national, of hyper-local brands to start getting you paid. You download this app and you start building your personal brand right now, so you are ready to go for July 1st.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it is coming, and it's coming fast.
Yeah, that's why you have to get out in front. That's why I thought it was interesting that Alabama put out their PSA really yesterday called the Alabama Advantage. And you're going to see a lot of schools continue to do this, to put this out there because it's going to become part of recruiting as well. And because guys are going to be wanting to get their brand out there, and it's going to be a selling point to a lot of schools. I mean, like Jimbo Fisher and Texas A&M, they have been already selling the fact of exposure, and of course Texas A&M, and with just the impact of that university and how large Texas A&M as a school is. When McKinley Jackson ultimately chose the Aggies over the University of Alabama, he mentioned his brand. And so I think schools have already, even before this became official, have been getting ready for this.
Yeah, Florida State is calling their program Apex.
Mm-hmm.
Texas is calling their program Leverage. And these are what they're using.
Should have just called it Overrated. That's what I would have called it.
But anyway, that's the name, image, and likeness. 256-576-4977. If you have a thought on the name, image, and likeness as we kick off hour number 2 here on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. We were talking about college football recruiting, and we were talking about Ari Wasserman, the Athletic. Now, he was asked a question, and it's about Clemson's recruiting strategy. And he says he wants to throw out a statistic, or a stat, we should say, and it pertains to the recruiting rankings and stars. How many, Drew, since 2000, going back to 2000, how many teams have won a national title in the modern era of recruiting without having signed a top 5 class?
I would say 0.
3. There's been just 3. 2016 Clemson behind Deshaun Watson. 2018 Clemson behind Trevor Lawrence. And 2010 Auburn.
If you go back and...
That's what, now this is what Wasserman put out there.
I understand, but really those were top 5 classes. You really can't evaluate a class until 2 or 3 years down the road anyway.
He says still all 3 of those are exceptions, had at least a 1 top 10 class in the previous 4 years before winning it all, according to Wasserman. But he says that Clemson's recruiting results haven't been up there with Alabama, Georgia, and Ohio State until recently. He says in his article, Drew, he believes Dabo Swinney is the best head coach in the country at evaluating talent.
At least he didn't say Kirby, because then I would have just thrown him into a ditch. But anyway, because all he does is hire some clown to figure out who had Nick Saban offers, and then they basically try to recruit the same players, in my opinion. But you can make that argument. I mean, it's not it's not nearly as stupid as trying to say Kirby Smart's the best evaluator of talent, because he's really not a very good evaluator. When you go back and look at his time at Alabama, he's a really good defensive coordinator and coach, but an average recruiter. But again, we call him Venmo for a reason.
But what do you say to that? I mean, they did have 9 draft picks this year.
I will say that Dabo Swinney is an outstanding evaluator.
Right.
Think about that. And, of course, part of the reason he did it was because it was a former teammate of his. But think about it. They offered Nolan Turner a scholarship, talking about Kevin Turner's son at Vestavia Hills. Didn't have a lot of offers. And he's become a really good college safety with a guy that has a chance to play in the NFL. Okay? So they are now recruiting on the highest level, but I will say for Ari, he did bring up a good point that at one point in time they were not quite on Alabama's level, maybe Georgia's level. They were recruiting classes that were 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, not in the top 5, but developing their players. I do think that Alabama and Clemson do the best job of evaluating their players and developing them. I think that's the reason that they've dominated college football. They've done the best job. And, I mean, Clemson's been in a clown league, but they're still really good, okay?
Right.
They're still very talented and very good. Their league hasn't taxed them quite that much. But I will say one of the reasons that's the case is because Clemson elevated themselves and the rest of the league didn't follow suit. So, but I will say I still think it's Nick Saban. I'm sorry. You don't win 6 national championships in 12 years. You don't recruit one. And, I mean, I know they'll say, well, he signs the number 1 class every year. You want to know why? Because he evaluates and signs the best players and outworks people. I would say
Arizona Jay.
Nick Saban 1 and Dabo 2, but you can make an argument for Dabo Swinney. They have done an outstanding job of developing talent, so there's no question about that.
Now, in this little thing that he answers this question about, he says that Dabo Swinney has recruiting rules. You know, like if you commit to the Tigers, you can't go and
that's a little bit wacko.
And visit other schools and talk to other schools and all that stuff. But he did say the one thing, and he brings up Alabama again in this little piece here. And he says that Dabo Swinney may have to adapt and change to a certain thing. He says because Alabama just took a wide receiver from Ohio State in Jamison Williams. He says Clemson is going to have to operate at the same level to keep up. And that means Dabo may have to change how he does some recruiting and how he kind of has his recruiting rules, so to speak, at Clemson.
Well, I mean, that's the key to staying on top. That's what Nick Saban has done. He has evolved and changed.
Right.
And Dabo Swinney will have to do the same thing because his program is going to come. They have become one of the hunted. That's what's going to make this game with Georgia to kick off the season in Charlotte, North Carolina, so fascinating because, you know, Dabo has established his program now and over a decade is one of the top 2 in the country. Kirby Smart's trying to get to that level. He hasn't yet. And until he wins games like that, he won't. And so that's what's going to be really – because right now, Kirby's big game record is a flop. It's not very good. I mean, if they hadn't beat Oklahoma in the Rose Bowl with that great comeback, we're talking none. So, and don't give me this Notre Dame in the regular season BS. I don't consider that, you know, some big, huge, monumental win. Okay.
Really?
No.
Going on the road and winning in South Bend.
No, I'm talking about the one at home.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I mean, certainly during that 2000s, probably you would say, if there was one, it was beating Notre Dame. Though I don't think that Notre Dame team was a great team.
So you're saying Kirby Smart his
big game record sucks. That's what I'm saying. Terrible.
He does. But does he have that big signature win still out there for Kirby Smart?
I think so. I mean, you know, because of course Florida handed him his ass last year.
Right.
And so I don't think his big game record is very good at all. And so you could argue about the 2 Notre Dame wins, the 2 close wins there. I don't think either one of those Notre Dame teams was great. So personally, in my opinion, so I think they were really good. I think those are the 2 closest big game wins he's had because, quite frankly, I'm not counting Florida because he was better. I mean, and then last year you kind of cancel out any of the Notre Dame stuff with the Florida loss. I'm just saying a game that was the only one that I give him so far is Oklahoma. That was one hell of a comeback in the college football playoff to get a chance to choke against Alabama. That was a great comeback because they were getting shellacked. They came back in the second half. They were down double digits. That's the only, in my opinion, signature big game win that Kirby has so far. Unless you say SEC championship game against Auburn, but here's the deal. That Auburn team didn't have Kerryon Johnson. They were not.
They came in very limping in that game.
That was a mismatch.
Yeah.
And Georgia smashed them. And so, but I guess you can say it's for an SEC championship. So that's probably not a week number 2. But to me, his big game record has left a lot to be desired.
All right, let's go to the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. If they had name, image, and likeness, if this cat was in school, he'd probably be all over it, cashing in big time. Arizona Jay with us.
What up, Jay?
Hey, I need my own statue right in front of Iron Tribe Fitness. You know what I mean? Just right there to the side.
Well, you know Iron Tribe moved, right?
They're not there anymore?
No, they've moved.
So your statue's gone too.
Yeah, they moved your statue, Jay.
Oh my God, man! I remember like driving in front of there, and I just see people just running down the street with like a freaking tractor tire for no reason. Like, what is going on here? And finally, I figured out they were coming from because I'd be at the bus stop. Like, where are they going? You know what I mean? And it's like, then I figured out it's like Iron Tribe, and then I figured out you guys were on top of Iron Tribe. But I really originally I wanted to call in about that one and done thing you guys were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
But I'm hearing you talking about the because I do hear this. I haven't been paying attention to the sports talk lately. You know what I mean? But I do hear about this new transfer rule where basically, I mean, I think it's like you get one free transfer or something like that.
Yep, you get one free transfer to go to school of your choice
Wherever
if you've
you
not
want.
already done so. I mean, there's a few little caveats to that, like you have to a coach. If you go to, let's say you're going from school A to B, you have to prove that school B did not try to recruit you before you enter the transfer portal, kind of, so to speak. I mean, there's some other caveats, but yes, you do get that one free transfer.
Man, that's a big bowl of spaghetti right there, man. Like, it's a big ball of yarn right there. I mean, it's a lot of...
Everybody loves spaghetti.
No, I'm just saying it's a lot of moving parts to, like, something like that. But the only thing I don't like about it, I mean, I think you should be able to transfer, but, I mean, it's going to, like, the bigger schools, when you go to, like, Chuck E. Cheese, whatever, and you got that little, like, arcade thing where the crane comes in and you're trying to reach in and animals and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it's almost like a lot of schools going to be getting carjacked. You know what I mean? The player jack, basically.
Grand Theft Auto.
Grand Theft Auto, man. Like, dude. And I mean, I don't like it, but I think you should have that right. But at the same time, I don't know, it's a double-edged sword to me.
Well, I think it's two things now. One, if you have a high-profile 5-star recruit that comes in and somehow he ends up maybe second or third on the depth chart, Drew, let's just say a running back comes in, he's up second or third on the depth chart. You got name, image, and likeness and a one-time transfer rule. If that recruit comes in thinking he's going to be able to take advantage of name, image, and likeness and get to play, and he's not doing either, he's not playing, so he can't take advantage of his name, image, and likeness, he's bolting.
Wait, you're talking about like video games or something?
I'm talking about right now because, the name, image, and likeness is coming to Arizona
Right.
State, where they can take advantage of this and they can be able to
get small endorsements.
And so you have a big-time recruit that comes in, somehow gets lost in the depth chart, doesn't get to play, can't take advantage of it, thinks he should be able to, he's going to leave.
Yeah.
Well, he should have played better, hey. You know what I mean? But anyway.
Well, he should have, and that's he should earn his way up there, 3 years, he should work his way up there. We've seen that, guys, like Mac Jones, for instance, buy his time before he got up there. Guys like that.
Mac wouldn't have made a whole lot on name, image, and likeness the first 3 years, but he would have cashed in last year.
Right, but it would have been at Alabama because he was not able to. He didn't
Halfway
see the
through
field.
The season, maybe you're talking Tuscaloosa Toyota or something. I don't know.
Yeah, but I'm talking about freshman, junior. He would have thought he should have been playing, or what?
Well, maybe. I think he went in with a different mindset. But everybody doesn't come in there with a Mac Jones.
Yes,
mindset.
right.
Man, I don't know. This, like I said, it's a big bowl of spaghetti. You know what I mean? It's big. I like in Atlanta, they got Spaghetti Junction, and it's like the freeways. It's like so many different dips and turns. It's a little like a big bowl of yarn or big ball of yarn, but
it is. But Jay, we like. I mean, I know you're talking spaghetti. We like spaghetti too here.
We have somebody that's going to be in the Guinness Book of World Records
for eating spaghetti.
Look, man, dude, I'm telling you, I'm a calamari dude, a lasagna and stuff like that. So, you know, anybody a 2-year-old can make spaghetti. So, but as far as the one and done,
well, we just put it in the microwave here for 2 minutes, and that's all we do.
Oh my God! But as far as that one and done thing, I think Steve Kerr is right. I mean, look, I put it like this. If you're going to go straight to the pros, you should be able to go straight to the pros. But once you enter college, you should have to stay there for at least 2 years.
Agreed.
Because, come on, like, if I'm a one and done, once it comes spring semester, I might go to class up until the drop deadline, and that's it. And then for the rest of the semester, while I'm still on campus, I'm going to be like posted up and shacked up and shagging in a sorority house, like with my agent on the phone for the rest of the semester. Because I know I don't need to go to class anymore. I'm about to go to the draft.
Yeah.
So you really think these kids are going to class in the spring semester?
Yeah.
And they know they're going.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean,
I think it should be
that's academic fraud right there.
I think it should be like the baseball rule. There should be some give and take. If you're good enough to go out of high school, you go do it. And then if you enroll in school, you're there for 2 to 3 years. And then that way, I think that you can mature more, your game gets better, and I think it'll be better for college basketball and the NBA.
I mean, you make them stay there for 2 years, at least they can, earn an associate's degree while they're there. But
yeah,
when they're one and done, come on, man. I might, my first semester, I might take, macrame class, you know what I mean? Or I don't know, knitting or I don't know, but
cooking.
I mean, how to speak sign language.
Yeah.
Home ec, if that's still in college, I don't know, but
yeah.
But come spring semester, I ain't going to class.
Right.
I know I'm getting ready to get in the draft a couple months later.
Mm-hmm. I understand completely. I agree with your take.
All right, man. I don't want to bother you guys anymore, man. But hey, I still want my statue though.
Okay.
We'll try.
Let them know. Thanks, Jay.
All right, y'all.
Let's get a break in. When we come back, we need to talk some Alabama football recruiting.
Yeah, with Rodney Orr.
You're listening to Talkin Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Oregon University near McMurdy. That one turned out to be a no injury. They canceled IMSI on it. Everything else looks good this morning. Traffic level heavy. We're about to get in last minute dash mode though, so you be very careful as you make that scramble to get in on time. Snelling needs experienced materials handlers, first and second shifts, temp to hire opportunities. Resume to jobs at snellinghsb.com. Captain Eck in the Jordan Lane Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
Texting enrolls you into reoccurring automated text messages. Message and data rates may apply.
Come on, one more rep. You got this. 10. There it is. Nice work. You're a beast.
Thanks, man. I feel better than I have in years. And I got to tell you, taking Nugenix makes a huge difference for me.
Nugenix? That's the testosterone booster with TV ads with Frank Thomas. The big hurt, right?
Oh, yeah. The patented key ingredient is Testofen, which helps boost free testosterone levels and increase lean muscle mass.
Well, it's clearly working for you. Hey, are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try for themselves?
Yeah, Nugenix is a great way to increase lean muscle and feel stronger with more energy and endurance.
Man, I need to get a complimentary bottle of Nugenix.
No problem. You just got to send them a text. Text both to 42424 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix, the #1 selling free testosterone booster at GNC. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of new Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help get you back into shape fast, absolutely free. Text BOTH to 42424. That's both to 42424.
Have you ever turned your back on God? Have you ever absolutely known the right thing to do and just turned around and walked away in disobedience? I know that I have. Aren't we thankful for our great and merciful God who loves us and forgives us and remembers our sin no more? I'm so thankful that his mercies are fresh every day. I need that, and I suspect you do too. Hey, I'm John Dees, pastor of Cross Point Church, and if you're looking for a church home, come see us. We're smack dab across the street from the YMCA in Madison. And check us out at cpcfamily.org.
McCurry Motors is your car and van rental headquarters. You can rent the vehicle you need today. Family in town, sporting event, church function, no matter what your need, McCurry Motors has you covered with a wide selection of cars and vans available for rent. They have 12-passenger Mercedes Sprinter vans, 12-passenger Ford Transit vans, 15-passenger Ford Transit vans, and 15-passenger Chevrolet Express vans. They have 2 locations, Highway 72 in Athens or Max Luther Drive in Huntsville.
This is Eli Gold, voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide. Now more of Talkin Ball with Scott Theisen and Drew DeArmond on your home.
Okay, let me get Rodney on. Mike's on.
Sports 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Roll Tide.
Hi, welcome back. 8:26 here on a Wednesday morning. Welcome back to Talkin Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. And as we mentioned, we got to talk some Alabama football recruiting 2022 in the works.
Well, that a little bit, but then also get Rodney Orr's take on Jamison Williams, and kind of how that came to pass, because it's a very interesting one, because it all kind of ties back into what we've been talking about today with the name, image, and likeness, and the role someone plays, because I don't think Jamison and his father were satisfied with how he had been developed at Ohio State. So that is what we're going to talk to Rodney Orr about here in just a couple of minutes. But it's going to be interesting because Nick Saban has kind of warned everybody about this, about the fact that there was a lot of people thinking that, this will be a way that Alabama will lose talent because kids will transfer using the one-time transfer rule. And there will be some guys leave, but it's not going to be the guys that, in my opinion, are the important core
okay, Rodney's ready.
That have been developed by Alabama to be great football players. And as Nick Saban warned, they will benefit from this, and they already have. And now he's with us. He is, of course, the longtime, since 1996, the founder and owner of TiderInsider.com. It's always an honor to contribute to that website. I do that. I do a little writing, and we contribute some audio to Tider Insider. But it's always great to catch up with Rodney Orr and to talk some Alabama football. Rodney, you're with Drew and Scott. Good morning. How are you?
Drew and Scott doing well. How about you guys?
Doing good, Rodney. Good to hear from you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good to hear from you guys.
Yep. And just, I guess, for our listeners, we talked about it earlier in the week. We strongly hinted at it. It, of course, happened, early this week on Monday by the end of our show, or before 10 a.m. But Alabama already benefiting from the transfer portal. But educate everyone on what you're hearing and how this transfer and this addition of Jamison Williams came to be.
Well, I think how it came to be was simply that, he narrowed his choices down coming out of high school at Cardinal Ritter High School in St. Louis to Alabama and Ohio State a couple of years ago, as you remember, and chose Ohio State, and was a fantastic high school prospect, no question. He was one of the elite receivers in the country, 4-star rated player, tremendous speed, 10.5 sprinter in high school. You probably mentioned that he actually broke the state record for the 300-meter hurdles there in the state of Missouri. He broke Ezekiel Elliott. You remember, the former Ohio State running back, great player with the Cowboys, running back. And so I think really what happened here is, to be honest with you, Ohio State kind of has a log jam with a lot of talented young players and receivers, a couple of with experience, Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson. And, then again, like I mentioned, several other in the underclass categories. So really what happened here was Alabama needs a receiver, needs speed. Nick Saban said in early March when spring practice started, the one thing about receiver was that they needed speed. Speed kills, as he said. And, I think when this came about with him entering the portal, it was kind of a natural fit. Again, he had the relationships with Alabama, with the coaching staff, Holman Wiggins, Nick Saban from the previous recruiting experience. And so I just think it was a natural fit, Drew and Scott.
Well, what kind of talent? We've seen him play limited time at Ohio State. He did see the field. He saw the field in some big games, including a Sugar Bowl appearance for Ohio State. Well, what kind of talent is Alabama getting?
Well, I think the two keys here with him are speed and experience. Alabama obviously has Mechie and Slade Bolden. Other than that, not a lot of experience. And they do have some talented young players that they brought in the last couple of classes, still developing. But this guy, Jameson Williams, brings a lot of speed. You mentioned that he's already done it on the big stage against Clemson. You saw that play, I'm sure, the highlights of it, the 45-yard touchdown throw from Field. You saw it all on display right there. The ability to run routes, the ability to get separation, and just that pure speed, to make big plays, to kind of go over the top, so to speak, take the top off, as they like to say. So I think that's really what he brings. This is something different. You add him with John Mechie, Slade Bolden, and then some guys that they're trying to develop, Ajay Hall, Treshawn Holden, Tyu Jones-Bell, Corey Brooks, all of those young players that they have. They've got JoJo Earl coming in. Christian Leary's here now too. So you start combining this as a group and allowing these younger players to develop. I think by the end of the year, this could be a really talented receiver core that Alabama, you lose 4 wide receivers in 2 years to go in the first round. No other school has had to, deal with that. That's the first time it's ever happened. So I just think in the face of those losses, bringing in a guy like Jameson Williams gives you a little, it certainly helps you in terms of the experience, the speed, and all of those things.
Yeah, and if you read between the lines, Rodney, and you do a great job at Tiger Insider, you of course put you share and post every Nick Saban press conference via video, and of course you put out a transcript. But if you read through those and listen closely, Nick Saban was kind of at the end of spring practice talking about maybe adding more experience to that wide receiver room.
Yeah, I mean, he specified it, and those were his words. So you kind of think that maybe he already had in mind that he was going to the portal if he could find the right guy. And, Jameson Williams came up and, entered the portal. And I think, from that perspective, you can't really pass up a talent like that when you're in need. Again, I don't think Alabama's going to make a living. I think some schools probably will try to make a living out of the portal. Alabama doesn't have to. They bring in the talent. But, even though you bring in talented players, occasionally when you lose players, like Alabama loses them, to the NFL, you've got obviously Jalen Waddle. I mean, here's the guy that went in 3 years. If he was coming back this year for that 4th year, maybe you don't need to go to the portal. But in this case, with him leaving early, I think the portal becomes something of an advantage for you. And Nick Saban said, we will use it to our advantage.
Well, where does Alabama then go from here? They get themselves an experienced wide receiver, and you mentioned they don't need to go to the transfer portal, but is there a need somewhere that you could see Alabama putting somebody else in by the time fall camp comes?
Well, there's been a lot of discussion, of course. I'm sure you guys have probably discussed it many times on your show about Henry To'oTo'o.
Who? Yeah,
exactly. It's the first time we've mentioned that name.
Yeah. But Henry T, of course, formerly at Tennessee, now Alabama or Ohio State. That's going to be really interesting. I know that a lot of Ohio State people felt like he would already have made a decision for Ohio State. I can tell you, within the last two weeks or so, talking to someone connected to the West Coast, the indication was that he was leaning slightly to Ohio State. That's very slightly to Ohio State at the time. And the reasoning behind it was a couple of things. Number one was the SEC transfer rule. Until they clarify that, how they're going to allow players within the conference to transfer, will they have to sit out a year, or will they be able to transfer freely that one time in their career without penalty, having to sit out? Until they rule on that, it's going to make it difficult for him to make that decision in favor of Alabama. Another thing is I do think Henry T sees an opportunity at Ohio State. They don't have quite as many linebackers right now on their roster as Alabama. So maybe that's an opportunity. But I will say this, too, and this is something that, we had said initially, and it was confirmed to us by the source our source on the West Coast was that, the fact that he played for Jeremy Pruitt, Derek Ansley, both Saban guys, came up in the Saban defensive system. The fact that he played under those guys, he has a pretty good inkling right now of this Alabama system. So it's not like he's got a tremendous learning curve if he were to choose to come here. So we'll see what happens. Again, it would not surprise me if he made a decision for Ohio State in the next few days or leading up to the next week or two. We'll see how that unfolds. But at the same time, I do believe this. I'll close on Henry T. with this. And that is that I do believe that if Alabama has a spot, the SEC allows the player to transfer within the conference without having to sit out. They changed the rule. And if Nick Saban pushes for Henry T., I think he ends up at Alabama. But as of right now, those things are not in place. So we'll see how it unfolds.
And Rodney, of course, we'll see. I think we do expect Alabama to still be, and Ohio State for that matter, along with Oregon, Washington, and USC to be smack dab in the middle of the JT Tuilamoau sweepstakes as he will begin taking visits in June when the dead period ends.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. That's another interesting one. You've got, I don't know. Nick Saban told us one time, don't worry about the scholarship numbers. That's his checkbook to balance, and he knows how to do it. We didn't need the media's input. So you kind of get to the point where you're like, okay, again, Alabama's like everyone else. They stay within the 85. That's what they have to do. There's no way around that. But Nick Saban knows knows how many he's got on scholarships and those types of things and how he can maneuver things. So assuming they have a spot, certainly JT Tuilamoau would be a guy that you'd welcome. 5-star defensive lineman, those guys are hard to find. We'll see what happens. Again, it's Alabama, Ohio State. I do think Oregon's really pushing hard too. But this has been kind of a secretive deal. They're not really tipping their hands too much. And like you said, Drew, maybe they take visits in June. We'll see how that goes. But right now, it's kind of difficult to predict.
Mm-hmm. No question about it. And then, Rodney, to piggyback off of Jamison Williams, I know you just put up a story on Tider Insider. It's going to be interesting to see how aggressive Alabama is. I know they want to at least add a couple of big-time receivers in this next class. You never stop recruiting. And Jamison Williams' addition is not going to hinder that. In fact, it may help it with a player or two because there's a couple of really good receivers in the Show Me State of Missouri that Alabama has some interest in.
Yeah, I mean, again, St. Louis could become really big for Alabama. We mentioned that Jamison Williams is from there originally, and then you've got Kevin Coleman, one of the more electric players in the country, a 5-star receiver out of St. Mary's High School there. It's got Alabama really high on his list. Some people think Alabama's the leader. Not a really big guy, but very electric with the ball in his hands. Luther Burden's another one from St. Louis. Formerly at Cardinal Ritter High School, maybe going back there. I'm not sure. I know he's been at East St. Louis High School too. So Luther Burden committed to Oklahoma, a bigger guy, 6'2", 185 pounds or so. Very dynamic player, obviously a 5-star rated player, one of the top 15 overall players in the country. He's a guy to watch. I think if he makes that visit to Alabama, as he's talking about this summer, he would certainly be on flip watch. We'll see. Some others that I think Alabama has an excellent shot at. Chris Marshall out of Texas is a guy that's a 6'3", 200-pound receiver, really physical player, good speed. Alabama's right in the middle of that one. Brennan Thompson is a dynamic little player. He's only about 5'9", 165 or so, 10'3", 100 meters. But let me tell you, this guy's not just speed. He is incredible with the ball in his hands, a lot like Waddle. He's an amazing talent. Alabama's in the middle of that one. Amari Kelly's a player in the state at Hewitt-Trussville who could play wide receiver or safety. And again, Alabama's right there in the middle with him too. And there are some others that, in the group that we mentioned, we had a Super 7 receivers to watch. And But I do think, Drew, Alabama signs 2 or 3 guys. I think if you can get 3 high-quality receivers, I don't know how you can pass them up, because to me, receivers have come where they are right now in terms of determining college football, outcome of games. They're right at the top of the list.
Yeah, we saw that in the Alabama-Georgia matchup where Alabama's receivers just really absolutely decimated that Georgia secondary, where there were so many highly touted players on that side of the ball, but they could not deal with Alabama's speed and athleticism at wide receiver.
Yeah, I mean, big difference in the game. And, you watch Georgia in other games where the year before in the SEC championship game, with LSU, they couldn't control those receivers. I mean, who could really? The game's just changed so much. Again, it's not certainly want to play great defense, but you can't go in expecting to hold these high-powered offenses and these great players on the outside, these receivers. And let me say this, too. Think about Alabama, talking about talent on the outside. Then all of a sudden you've got guys like Cameron Latu at tight end with Jaleel Billingsley. And those guys can really stress a defense. When you have tight ends that can run like those guys, can catch the football like those guys, just amazing. I think they're going to have once they get this, their receivers with Jamison Williams coming in, once they kind of get together as a unit in fall camp and really work through things and find themselves with those 2 tight ends, they could be really have a ton of weapons that even though you lost some great players, Alabama could be explosive once again.
Yeah, we're talking to Rodney Orr, TighterInsider.com. I agree with that. I'm anxious to see what Bill O'Brien, the wrinkles he adds, because the offensive system is not changing, but they always add their little tweaks and wrinkles. And when Bill O'Brien was with Bill Belichick, they always featured the tight ends. And so I'm going to be really interested to see. I know he loves Latu, what kind of spring he had as well. And then Jaleel Billingsley. We could see a lot of 2 tight end sets, and the tight ends really be a big part of the offense for Alabama with Bryce Young this fall. But, Rodney, as we're wrapping it up with you, we had one of our listeners text in, and I know Alabama's coaching staff, as always, has undergone some changes. He wanted your opinion on, right now, this Alabama staff, the way it is constituted. Who do you think Alabama's top recruiter is on this staff?
Oh, wow. I mean, you have some really good recruiters on this staff, obviously. The top recruiter, though, is clear. It's Nick Saban. I mean,
that's a very good point.
He's the guy. I mean, I talked to a guy, Drew, and you're familiar with him, too, out in Texas, who knows that state, knows recruiting as well as anybody in the country. And we talked about, and again, this guy has no connection to Alabama whatsoever, so there's no bias there. But he's just observed Nick Saban and truly amazed with the way he does things. And give you an example, a linebacker out there, 5-star player, Harold Perkins. And, this guy talked to Harold Perkins out of Houston. And he was like, all these coaches tell me the same thing. It's you're going to come to our program. We're building our program. We're going to have a great program. You're going to be a great part of it. You can do great things here. He said, but Nick Saban's just so different. I mean, he lays out the plan. He gives you a vision for how you fit in, how they can develop you, players that they've had similar to you in the past, and what they've done with them, and how they can prepare you for the future. All of those things. He gives you a vision of how you're going to be an impactful player, not just the hype. So I think that's a big part of it when you're talking about recruiting. But when you're asking about assistant coaches, look, I think there's several of these guys that are outstanding recruiters. I think Doug Marrone, does a great job. I think Bill O'Brien proved it at Penn State coming in the way he did. He did a tremendous job. I really like Robert Gillespie, the running backs coach. I think he's a tremendous recruiter. And again, I'm skipping over some guys, but probably the guy who is the most unsung recruiter on this staff, and it's because he's just so low-key off the field, certainly not in practices. If you've ever been to a practice and watched Sal Sunseri operate.
Yes.
But let me just tell you, when Sal Sunseri locks on to a prospect, he is very, very difficult to beat. He's brought in some tremendous players in his time. Now, he's been here 2 stints, as you know, and every time he's brought in some of the more highly regarded players, some of the better players that Alabama's brought in during those times. He is a tremendous recruiter. I also really like Jay Valai, the addition there at corners coach, even though Carl Scott did a nice job recruiting. I think Jay Valai is on another level. I think his connections in Texas, I think his youth and the way he relates to these prospects, I just think Jay Valai can be a tremendous addition there as a, as a recruiter.
Great stuff from Rodney Orr, always giving us keen insight into the Crimson Tide. Rodney, let everybody know how to connect with you, and we appreciate you joining us to talk some Alabama football this morning.
Well, it's TiderInsider.com. It's only $48 a year. You can get instant access with your credit card if you prefer. There's an address there to send a check, and it provides you all our premium information. We talked about the 7 wide receiver update yesterday, but also our All Sports Forum, where you can, if you want to be a part of the community there, Drew, you know how it is. You and Scott know this really doesn't stop the discussion and information there. And also, if you want to watch Tider Insider TV, our statewide TV show, well, it airs throughout most of the state, it's right there. You can watch it free from last night. Gary Harris and myself there on Tider Insider TV.
Thank you, Rodney. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Rodney.
All right, guys. Take care.
Let's get to a break. When we come back, we're going to wrap up our Wednesday show.
You're listening to Talkin Ball on 97.7 ESPN.
He's coming to Birmingham. Yeah. I'm close to it. I've been working with Stan Utley. He's got me straightened out. I'm playing great. Yeah. A long time ago. Hey, but I've been to hell and back. So I'm playing good now. No, you know what? I still good to see you there. Hey, thanks for coming to Birmingham. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for getting out here. Oh, of course I will. Appreciate it. That's awesome. You know what? I was a single digit handicap, and I started taking lessons from every person in the world. Quit doing it. He got me straightened out again.
Have the best food around, from the Mexican pasta to the best Cuban sandwich you could ever ask for. It's all at the Furniture Factory, located at the corner of Meridian and Pratt. Find us online, FurnitureFactoryBarGrill.com.
I love overpriced stuff. Avocados, designer t-shirts, artisanal water, you name it. That's why I get my internet from the other guys. Paying more for the same stuff. What could be better?
Wow is better, because for just $29.99 per month, we give you the super fast, reliable internet you need and the awesome customer service you deserve. Switch to Internet 100 for just $29.99 per month. And now, learn how to get $150 on us at Huawei.com. Limited to new customers with auto-pay and paperless billing. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra. Offer subject to change. Restrictions and terms apply.
Hey folks, this is Arthur Seaton, managing partner of University Kia, here letting you know we are proud supporters of Madison Academy football. And a quick shout out to my son, Avery Seaton, number 19. Stop into University Kia today and shop our large selection of new Kias, including our all-new Telluride 8-passenger SUV, the stylish new K5, and the sporty new Seltos. Visit universitykia.com to view all our great offers and get pre-approved in minutes so you can drive home your new Kia today, because we want to see you in the Kia. Go Mustangs!
Hey there, Bob Baumhauer here. I hope all of you are well. These are trying times we're experiencing right now, and I want you to know that we at Baumhauer's are committed more than ever to providing a legendary dining experience to everyone. Everyone is important to us, and everyone is welcome. Please allow us to serve you in a way that makes you feel safe, appreciated, welcome, and special. Because we're all special in the eyes of the ones and the one that counts. God bless.
This segment of Talkin Ball is brought to you by University Kia, the #1 volume Kia dealer in the state of Alabama. Located online at universitykia.com. From the Alabama Crimson Tide to the Atlanta Braves, we are 97.7 ESPN The Zone. It's time for tomorrow's headlines today.
All right, here we go. I got your clip ready.
Drew DeArmond on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
All right, your tomorrow's headlines today. We've got a bunch of headlines to get to, but we've tried to play this all morning. So if you've been following the show, Louisville head baseball coach Dan McDonnell, we've been trying to play his clip on opening the stands back up. It's good. So here we go. The third time's the charm. Ray, everybody loves spaghetti.
I'm ready to open this place up. I'm not going to lie. I'm beyond frustrated. I'm tired of it. We're an outdoor sport. I mean, let's go, people. Turn on the Masters. Watch the Derby. Watch the games in the SEC and in other ballparks. It's an outdoor sport. You want to risk it, you risk it. Like, I'm tired of playing games without people in the stands. So let's open it up and let's let our fans come and let's let them enjoy some Louisville baseball. And then I'll be a little more excited to host a regional because, unfortunately, I haven't had a regional atmosphere yet. Right? Do we not agree?
There you go.
Yeah, good job, Ray.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Amen, Dan McDonnell. Preaching to the choir. Open it back up. Why have they not? It's stupidity. I mean, good grief. I can't go 5 seconds without watching a vaccine commercial. I mean, I'm vaccinated. You're vaccinated. Steve's vaccinated. Everybody's vaccinated. I mean, like Chris Lee said, good grief. Wake up, people. Should be a full house for Alabama Vanderbilt. Mercy. I mean, it's just dumb. There's no logic to it anymore. None.
The other headline, you ready for this? Come Sunday, DK Metcalf, okay?
Oh, this will be good.
The Seattle Seahawks wide receiver. Ole Miss wide receiver, right? He's fast. Says he's fast.
Oh, he's fast.
He's fast.
Fast, big man.
Come Sunday, Drew, he is going to compete in the 100-meter dash in the USA Track and Field Golden Games and Distance Open in Walnut, California. He's going to be competing against an elite field of sprinters that includes several runners who have run sub-10-second 100-meter times. Does DK Metcalf even stand a chance in this?
No. I mean, I admire him for competing and putting it on the line, but he's not going to be able to compete with this.
All right. And the other thing is we just saw the Corn Ferry Tour come through.
Now, I want to know this. Why? Yeah. I would be more intrigued if Anthony Schwartz was trying to do this because I think
that would make more sense.
Because I think he would blow DK's doors in.
Now, Metcalf, in case you're wondering, ran a 40 time when he was at the combine of 4.33. He finished second in the 5A state championship at Oxford High School in Mississippi in the 110 hurdles and the triple jump. He was part of the 4x100 relay that holds the state record. So he's ran track, but he's going up against some of the big guns now. We saw the Corn Ferry Tour, Drew, last week. Okay, $600,000 purse at the Ledges. The Corn Ferry announcing yesterday, right after our show, that they're going to increase the purses for all events over the next 2 seasons. The minimum purse for all tournaments beginning in 2023. And the Corn Ferry Tour will still be here in 2023, Drew, will be $1 million.
Uh-oh.
So the Corn Ferry Tour increasing their purses
there you
a
go.
little bit.
There you go. Falcon Crest increasing it.
So they're increasing it. And then you got to feel bad for Jawan Willett James of the Denver Broncos. Okay.
And he's a former Alabama football commit, by the way, who flipped to Tennessee and lost his whole career.
Well, now he's losing a lot more than that.
Even though he did become a first-round draft choice.
Well, he's losing a lot because last year, remember, he opted out amid the COVID-19 pandemic, decided not to play.
Yeah.
Yesterday, tough news for him, he tore his Achilles.
Ugh.
So he will be out this next entire season.
Yeah.
It gets worse. The injury occurred away from the Denver Broncos facility, meaning Denver does not have to pay him anything right now. And in all, he could lose close to $20 million from the 2 seasons of not playing football.
That's what happens, man. You make those choices and decisions, and then you have just a terrible, unfortunate, injury like that with the Achilles, which takes a while to come back from. So, that's really going to affect his career. Prayers that he heals quickly, but very unfortunate.
Now, we talked yesterday to Jake Crane. We talked about Auburn players in the transfer portal. I don't think we mentioned Chris Thompson Jr.
Now, he went in after
the show, yes. So Auburn lost another player to the transfer portal.
A 2020 kid, a safety. So he is was highly thought of, but he is moving on once again, part of the coaching transition when you hire a new staff.
And then the Atlanta Braves yesterday get it done.
Hey, you may have started something, man. I was listening. With your little catchphrase there this morning to start the show.
Enoa.
Yeah, you know it.
You know because he did it. He did
it. That's what you kept saying. You know it.
You know it. He did it last night. Hit a grand slam. He's already had 2 home runs. And what did I see? I saw on social media all night, they were like, the Los Angeles Angels may have Ohtani, but the Braves have you know it. And he did it last night. He hit a grand slam, his 2nd home run of the season. He has a spectacular game on the mound last night for the Braves. They stopped their 4-game slide against they get a win against the Nationals, Drew, and the Braves needed that one in a big way last night.
Oh, they did. It was horrific over in Dunedin against Toronto. They did not play well, but they started to get better and playing against the Nats, who are struggling about as much as they are. But Yanoa has really been the story of the early season. Was not counted on in the rotation, has taken that opportunity and run with it. And then last night, hell fired. If you want to win a game, take care of it yourself. It won 427 feet for a grand
center
slam.
Field.
Yeah, dead center to win the ball game. So the Braves get a win, and we'll join them in progress again tonight. I know we have a tormentor on Twitter who can't stand the fact that we're joining them in progress, but that's just the way it is. But we are the home of the Braves, and we are the home of all great local
30. Hey, if you want to hear the Braves entirety, hit me up. Sponsor them.
Yeah,
we'll put the Braves on all the time.
Absolutely.
Become an advertiser to the Braves and 20. Show them all the time.
We appreciate Chris Lee. We appreciate Rodney Orr, the Czar with Chad Guaffney. Got to get used to that. Is our good friend Joe's in Nashville. But Chad back in his old
10 seconds.
And they will be on from 10 to noon, and then the drive tonight. And we will talk to you tomorrow at 7:01 a.m.
Full house, people. Full house.
I'm attorney Gary Lackey. You'll hear people say we're like a family, but here at the Lackey Law Firm, that's really true, not just a saying.
I'm Justin Lackey. With my father and my sister, we have a special connection to each other.
I'm Jennifer Lackey. At the Lackey Law Firm, when we take on your case, you become part of our family. You really do.
And we'll always do whatever it takes to get everything you deserve.
If you're injured, you worry about getting well, not about paperwork or insurance companies or figuring out how to get to your lawyer's office. I'll come to you.
We worry about your